Right, so now we are going to start detailing up our captain, Jack Sparrow. I have just noticed down here we need a couple of little lines. So anyway, you can see we've got all of this detail to do. Now what I am going to do is going to focus on detailing some of his face up now straight away. So we've got, and again I'm using the trusty 2B pencil. Everything I've used so far is just the 2B pencil, and the real brightest part is on his nose and his cheeks, so I'm going to just fill in all of these tonal areas around his face, just giving a key and a tooth of the colour. And you can see here we've got this shape that comes up from his right eye socket, so I'm just indicating that there. We've got the shape down the side of his nose, and I'm just doing this really quickly using the flat of the pencil just to indicate. Now again, you can do this rather quickly and leave it at this kind of level, but I'm going to show you techniques for shading and building up your tonal values. I'm going to focus on here, but the rest I'm going to do quite loose, because getting that outline down was really detailed and long. But this is where that's the most important bit, because now you're just filling in colour. You're filling in areas with tone. And you've just got to keep looking where the shadows are and the tones. So there's a light bit there, a light bit on his lips around here. You can see that little V. But I'm just going to fill in a lot around the face. And this is like the kind of first filling in here. You've got a light part on the end of his chin, the left hand side. It's a bit darker underneath. And I've not twisted the pencil at all, so the flat side is getting flatter. And obviously this cheek is darker. And you've got coming down the nose. Going up to the eye. Darker patch going under. Dark around the eyes. Again, I'm just using the 2B pencil, being quite quick and just indicating where the bulk of these shadows and tonal values are. Again, you've got a darker shadow underneath the nose, on the right hand side of the nose, darker again around the eye. Now I'm just filling, I'm not pressing on too hard, but I'm just filling in the iris, being careful not to go over the highlight. And already you can see Captain Jack Sparrow staring out at you. And that's literally a few minutes, seconds after all of that time, the good hard work of getting a correct outline down. And that's the most important aspect. So here we have some tone going in onto his moustache. And I'm literally still using the flat of the pencil, but I'm drawing the lines in the direction, the way that the moustache grows. And that way it just looks more natural. Increasing that dark underneath his chin. And now let's down the side of his cheek and his chin. And here we've got his beard. So I'm drawing the actual beard part kind of dark to match, and you can see already Captain Jack Sparrow is in the house or on the boat or whatever, the Black Pearl. And that, I mean, just even sketching like this, it's so good and quick, even with just a 2B pencil. You've got a really good drawing coming together. So here we have the dark coming down to the collar, and then the side of his neck, and then up his cheek next to this plaited little braid that comes down. Again, I'm using this flat of the pencil, creating the dark, but making sure the edge is soft and not crisp and sharp. And that is absolutely fantastic. So underneath the bandana, we've got this nice dark shadow that goes all the way across. And that dark from the eye socket going up. How amazing is that? That is truly lovely. So now I'm bringing the dark down, but not as dark as here, onto his plaited beard, because we've got highlights that we're going to pick up and then pick out using a putty eraser, and then darkening down with a pencil afterwards. Now here we've got darken that collar, but again we've got a little triangle of shade there, shadow next to the braid onto the collar. And then here you can see we've got the shape of the braid, because the light's coming from this direction, making the shadow underneath his chin. There's the shadow from the braid. Again, just using the flat of the pencil. Same thing here. Got the shadow cast by the braid. Same thing here, going all the way up. Now again, I'm just filling the tone in. Whereas his chest is quite light, so I'm gently feathering that in. And this is just all the flesh part. Oh, that's fantastic. Shadow around that pendant at the end of those little beads, and then it becomes dark again up here. So again, I'm hovering, my hand is not on the page there. Now I'm resting my hand down. Just. There's the crease line down the left side of his cheek. Just filling that dark up a little bit. Now we need shadow around the nose. On the left hand side, going up the left hand side of his nose up to his eye. And then the left hand side of his cheek. Now, you can keep it really sketchy like that if you want, but I use a little bit of kitchen roll. It's just a technique that I like to use. And then just fold it over and I just smooth it. And you can see then gives you a lot of, well, it just smooths the tone of the pencil out a little bit and fills in all of the paper. Straight away you've got Captain Jack Sparrow really looking at you and doing his Captain Jack Sparrow thing. And it's just a case of building up. Now, that's really quick and simple, and you could literally use that as a finished drawing with the nice pencil lines around the outside. Now, if you draw the grid in lightly, it's easier to remove it afterwards, and you can, you know, the lines look really arty. So that could have been a finished piece already. You know, you just got a good arty sketch. So what we're doing is now going to learn, well, just carry on experimenting and growing and developing your tonal exercises. fill in a little bit on his cheek. And so you're literally drawing using the end of this. Now you can use a blending stump. I'll be using one of those later. You can also use brushes, and you got a cotton bud. You can use your finger, but it does get dirty. So I say, to give you an idea of, you know, nice soft transitions, and you see this, but Jack's a hardy pirate, but you can do nice softer transitions and just feathering the colour. So even here now, I'm literally just feathering some of the graphite from the pencil into his eyes, and the whites of his eyes, so it just calms them down a little bit. And that is absolutely fantastic. So now we're going to build in a lot more tone. So you can see as we add more tone though to this image, we'll then end up having to put more dark in around our Jack. Now the light's coming from the side, and the top here is brighter. Now I've resisted using the putty eraser to pull out the highlights on his nose just yet, because we're going to get a lot more of the image in. Now again, I said that we're going to do the rest relatively quick, and again, this is still the 2B pencil. So I've just filled in all of the bandana with that simple tone. And now you can see where all of those nice simple squiggles that we did really work for us. You can still see that detail in the bandana, and it's really giving you the impression of the pattern in the cloth. So here we're darkening down. If you squint, you can kind of see the shapes of the dark. This is coming into where it's really dark. And this is where it curves around his forehead down to the right hand side of his head. And again, I'm just going to quickly smudge, and it doesn't matter smudging over the beads a little bit, because we'll use the putty eraser to really pull up the highlights on the trinkets. So that's all of those. This is the first time I'm going to use the putty eraser. You can use a normal eraser, just have to be careful, but with this you can pull it to a point and you can then just accentuate the highlights. But so there's the one in the dark. And on. So again, the thing with this is I can literally just dab, and you can see it's just pulling up some of the tone. So the front of his forehead on his bandana is that little bit lighter. Again, when we put the dark in of the hair, that will then give us a much sharper image of the tone on the bandana. Now I've just sharpened it so it's got a nice kind of sharper point. Now come in, I'm just squinting, to, and you can see where this shadow comes over. Above his eye. It just gives me a longer flat point. To build up the tone in this darker area on this side. Again, here we got a little circle, little ellipse shape. That then comes down into this dark tone. Just building up and increasing. There's that crease. Just putting some squiggles in again because they've got smudged out a little bit. And crease line, shade underneath. Up at the top you've got a darker shadow over that little highlight that we brought back in with the putty rubber. Sharpen up the edge of the bone. And there, see, even that is really now lifting Captain Jack off the page for us. Just increase that shadow again. Again, you can do this. Again, you can see if you squint, like up the third there, you can see where the shadow needs to come round to give the three-dimensional form of the forehead of the bandana going round his head and across the top of his forehead. Again, I'm doing this really quickly, nice and fast. Pencil lines, so that you know, I can get this done as fast as I can, but the longer you spend, the more detail and photorealistic you can actually develop your drawings. So again, got the creases on this side. Again, you've got all the lines on that you already put on. So to darken those down a little bit is actually very easy. And you can just squiggle over them nice and quickly because you've put them, and even if you do a little bit different, but the main ones being there, you can re-establish the pattern nice and quickly and simply. There's that stem that goes up. And that's the pattern. Reappearing on Jack's bandana at the front, going into the shade. Again, I'm just squiggling in the shade because we can't see too well the detail that's in there. Again, up here there was a W. We can just keep adding little bits, but this is nice and quick. Then coming off on this side, so again you've got some kind of stained shadow blotches in the creases. And it just gives you that authenticity. Now again, here we have the shadow caused by these trinkets dangling down, and it's nice, like I did with the cheek. It's nice and dark, but nice and soft, not a crisp edge with the point. You're using the flat side of the pencil. So now we're going to carry on. I'm going to just add some tone to these trinkets and bones on the interesting braid that dangles down the front of Jack's bandana. So here we've got tone on the left hand side of the bone, this little kind of button thing. We've got, so I'm using the sharp point shadow underneath, a bit of an ellipse, and then inside. And we've got kind of little leather strap thing, and the shadow right next. I'm using the sharp point to dig in, and I really like digging in the paper. I know you can get these matte pencils now, so you can get absolutely flat matte black. I quite like the shine, but that's personal preference, and that's the beauty of drawing. You can do whatever you want. Now we've got this red, little ruby red gem with a highlight on there, carefully filling that in. Then you've got another, looks like a bit of a tooth, little W shape there, dark coming down, then the dark on these three parts, and then so we've got a nice highlight right on the front, little bit of shading to the left hand side, towards that side of the left hand side of his head, but then more on the right hand side of these little kind of grey stone beads, with a highlight on the centre one. It's kind of like a third. And then we've got this next kind of bone bit of tooth. That's got a shape that comes down. Then we've got another kind of ruby, nice highlight in the centre, so we'll leave that showing. And then we've got this interesting fella. It's got a dark edge on that side, but some interesting highlights and interesting tones. So we've got tone up the side, now I'm going to use, this is my blending stump. It just allows you to push the pencil around a little bit, just to smudge it and smooth it. And you use it just like you use a pencil. And it just gives you that extra flexibility, just nice and simple. and then come back in with the putty eraser. Again, I'm just indicating these nice and quick. Pull out the highlight on the ruby, then on that tooth, and the 3 little bits, top of the tooth, that ruby, and then this bone at the top. There's quite a bit, but there you can see we've got that nice line delineated down the front of Jack's bandana. We can come back in now, and I'm really using the point of the pencil to increase the highlight, and you can use a darker one. I'm still using the 2B pencil right next to the shapes all the way down. Inside the softer bit that we did on the bandana, and there you've got that now physically resting on to the bandana, which makes it really good. Now again, I can just gently increase the tone. Just a few cross-hatching lines. And that makes the bandana stand out, and the bones and the trinkets. So here now you can see we've got a kind of crease line coming all the way across, halfway through there. And I'm using the flat of the pencil. And as you add more tone, you can see where you need to darken other areas. Right up to the top of the bandana. I've just done that a little bit too much, so just dabbing that off. But there, you can see it really is starting to come alive. So now that's a really good point, but we now need to fill in a lot of the rest of the area. Now there's lots of fiddly stuff, and I'm going to use the 2B pencil and then build up with the 4B pencil. And we can fill in the shapes rather quickly. Again, this is where the hair is on the top. You can see that I'm drawing from the centre parting. So there's that dark shadow right in the centre, and the line of the hair is going that way. So I'm drawing the lines in the direction that the hair would be brushed. That's a loose statement, I think, for Captain Jack Sparrow. Kind of mushed rather than brushed. It's very artistically dishevelled, shall we say. But it's still got highlights on there, but I'm not going to put the background in. We're just going to have this nice portrait of Jack. So when I did Iron Man, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. in Marvel, we put the full background in. But I'm not going to do that on this one. Again, we're going to have to really darken the hair down. But we can get a good idea using the 2B. I just want to quickly get all of this in and down. So we've got the light hair coming off the left hand side of his head. We've got dark shadow underneath the bandana there. Quickly indicating just some of the dark lines. There's that little tuft that comes out. Now over on this side, just nice and quick filling in. It's lighter at the top, his shoulder and the top of his waistcoat coming down. Now I'm looking at this and we've got that light bit. Again, I'm doing this really quickly. So we've got the dark of that dreadlock frond coming down. And then it lightens up here, but then we've got a little bit of a dark patch underneath the hair there, lighter on the front one, but again this nice soft texture of the dreadlocks. The flat of the pencil gives you a really good feel. So here we've got a little dark crease in the blue, but just coming down. We've got that lighter bit of braided hair coming down in between those two dreadlock fronds. Again, I'm now just swirling, just little circular motions rather than the straight flats, and you can see we've already got nice shape appearing. I'm doing the same kind of just slight crescent shapes. Imagine you're going round, because it is round, it's like a kind of cylinder, and that's what you need to do. So I'm doing the darker shape down here. I'm not going to go right the way dark to the bottom, because I think it's just quite arty to leave the edge of the paper like that. Again, this is all just the 2B pencil, and this is getting quite small. So now I'm doing just little circular motions, nice and quick, and that kind of gives me the texture that I want for that dreadlock kind of feel. Now you can see that is working really well. Dark right up at the top. Coming down. We got this one on the front, it's got quite a nice highlighted bit. So I'm literally just creating the shapes using the flat of the pencil, but nice and lightly. And so all we can do is literally work our way around the canvas now and just enjoy making the shapes and filling the tone in. And that's the joy of working with pencil, is you're creating an illusion, and you can see already that the dark here is now darker than the eyes, and that's what we've got to build up afterwards, and that'll make the eyes then really stand out. So again, I'm now building the dark up around these beads using the sharp point of the pencil next to this kind of blonder strand of hair that's coming down, that's plaited. Now we're back to the flat, creating that darker shadow. That little frond that comes down. Dark next to this long part. And that's coming all the way down. Now you could go black all the way to the edge like it is. Personal choice, but I quite like this sketchy kind of how it comes out at the bottom. Yeah, and that you can see there, just it's so enjoyable. Again, I'm filling in this area really quickly. Darker shadow right the way down. You've got those braids. Again, here there's, remember that kind of flower pattern. Now I'm literally just squiggling, I'm looking at the shapes and indicating just some kind of pattern, and that's all you need to do. Again, just filling in the blue there, and we've got dark coming down, surrounding this frond of hair. So now coming up here onto this dark, we've just got to soften the edge as that goes around. Again, I'm now just doing the little curved swirls, darkening the shadow on that side, and that's how you get that three-dimensional shape. You just take your time and carefully casually fill in the shapes with the tone that you want. So now I'm filling in between the string that's tied around these fronds of hair. And then we've got these little bits to do coming down. Again, if you want to go totally photographic, you've got to spend a lot of time on this. It would be a day just on this. It would be immense. And that's a stunning thing. It's, like I say, I've spent 4+ days on some drawings. But I love the spontaneity of just creating a quicker drawing. So again, I'm just using the flat of the pencil. Just to fill that up. There's the braiding. Now we've got this one coming down over the front of his waistcoat. And here we've got a highlighted part. But again, the dark, we'll have to make that darker, and that'll make that stand out. So that'll be a bit of a 4B pencil. Maneuver in a moment. But again, just being able to see that, you can see the darks, makes all the hair really stand out. Now I'm just coming in and quickly just erasing some of the pencil on those crosses and on that hair going up the side, and then on this one going up here. The putty rubber is great for this, so I can literally just dab and get the highlights on one side. And that's looking absolutely fantastic. So now I've got another 2B pencil in my pencil extender, and this is what I'm going to use now because it's just getting too small. I don't have the feel or control. So I'm resting my left hand just on top of my right hand so as I can use the flat of the pencil quite carefully, but I can get these marks in that I want on this lighter hair. Just nice little swirly squiggles coming down into this lighter area at the bottom. And then we've got this incredible dark area where you've got this kind of leather or fabric toggle at the bottom. And it's the dark that will make the light stand out so much better. So now I'm using the tip of the pencil, and you can see we've got all kinds of hair sticking up and plinging down. but you want the dark in and around to make it stand out next to this lighter patch of hair that's coming down. And we got slightly lighter part there. And we come up to this lovely bit of jangly jewellery braid. At the top we need to just blend that in a little bit. And we got the braided hair next to it as well. But that's looking pretty good so far. Now we've got to come over here and do all of this bit as well. So now quickly we need to get these beads in. Now again, we're giving an impression. So darkening the hair down above it. But we've got this first bead and then we've got this braid down the side. So I'm darkening down but being careful not to lose the shape of the cheek line as we come down. Now we've got all of these shapes coming out of this dark. Now, before we do go any further, I'm literally just going to smooth that a little bit. That's better. Now, before I do the actual trinkets, we're going to do this braided part. So I'm just going to sharpen the pencil. I can just swap over because we're going to have a lot to do. So here we've got the dark of his jawline. I will probably use, let's see if we get away with just a 2B pencil, but I might end up using a 4B just to increase the darks. Now we've got this braid that's coming down all the way to here, and we've got a little bit of hair there. And shadow here. So again, I'm using the sharp of the pencil to give me the edge that I want next to these elements on the beads and the braids in his hair, the little plaits. And then soften it in between. Now, you've got these kind of leaf shapes all the way up. And we need to leave those just showing the highlighted edge. And as we come down, we've got the dark either side of the knotted plaits in the hair. We've got some brighter highlights at the bottom, then we've got the string. I'm just indicating the string and the hair right at the bottom. Flat of the pencil creating the shadow on his chest. There's the shirt. Now, just creating some little shade around the highlighted bits on the braids and the plaits, or braided plaits even. And then kind of goes a little bit darker up the top. But I'm just now pulling out those highlights, just that little bit on that plait. Now, up at the top, we're going to work our way down these trinkets on this braid coming down. So we've got a soft highlight on the top one, and a harsh highlight on the second, dark shadow underneath, and we've got the swirl one, and we got this nice toffee one underneath, the swirly one. So we've got a highlight right up the centre, like a Y kind of highlight at the side. I'm using the pencil very lightly. And then darkening that down underneath, just getting the shape nice. The dark of the shadow. And then just pick up the highlight a little bit. Again, to make the highlight stand out, you just want to put a little bit of a darker edge around. That'll make the highlight just stand out a little bit. And underneath we've got this red, peachy, well, not red, it's not bright red, but this kind of nice peach little rock. So I'm using the flat of the pencil. Got the highlight on the top. Little bit of dark underneath. Then we've got this black rock. Again, there's a highlight right on the top. So I'm just going to clean the paper as best I can. Just bringing that dark around. Then we've got this little oblong, little box type shape. Nice highlight, soft highlight on this side. Just filling the shade in from the top, leaving that highlight showing. Now we've got this lovely kind of crest medallion. Two straight edges and curves on the top and the bottom with a kind of shield inside. Just following the shape of the outline using the edge of the pencil nicely inside. Little triangle shape for the shield, shape inside, just little squiggles with the edge of the pencil, and there you can see you've got that nice little metal shape. Then we've got strong highlight on a black kind of barrel bead. So do very dark next to the highlight, fill in that shape, and then we've got a kind of oval shape again. It's very dark with the highlight right in the centre. And there we have that shape nice down underneath. Now we're onto the disc at the bottom. So we've got the clasp over the top. Kind of using the edge of the pencil, you've got the shape of it. If it curves around, you've got a little dark in the bottom, grooves going up, and you can indicate the metal leaving the highlight. You come down, we've got the same lower down, 3 little clasps that then connect to some kind of links. And those links have got little oblongs, but they're the ones with the strong bright highlight. So again, the clasps, put a couple of ridges in between. You don't have the strong highlight, so you can just indicate a bit of tone. Then we've got the links that come off underneath. Just a shape, another circular link. One coming down to these little oblong baguette type shapes. Dark shadow in there. Shadow underneath on the skin. Then we got a long rock type, again with a highlight on the front, a bit like this one up here. Now on this one we've got a clasp with a circular link. Again, another clasp. Just lots of highlighted bits. So again, I'm just indicating the shadow around them. And there you've got the shapes. So now the actual medallion disc. We've got shadow. I'm using the flat side of the pencil, where the hair is creating this shadow. It's darker on the left hand side of the disc, and then indicate that little crescent and the highlight coming round. Just increase the dark a little bit, going up that beaded side. And that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to use the blending stump. I'm just going to, because you've got this bone and it's just soft tone, so I'm just dragging some tone down. Again, up on the head part with the hole in it. Just indicating a little bit of tone. Now I come in, do the little bit of string that goes through. Then just some of the little scratchy details on the top of the part of that bone where it goes into Jack's hair, the string coming around. Darken that bit of hair down underneath where it joins the bandana. Now we come up to the top and we follow the shape of the hair coming down, and we've got a lot of dark. So here we've got a V shape, you can see a bit of dark coming down underneath the kind of bone that comes off. We've got the shadow, and you've got the hair just cascading. And above, now again, remember, keep your lines going in the direction that you would brush or comb hair, or mat it in Jack Sparrow's case. We've got the dark in the centre, and that highlighted bit going over the top. Dark where it goes behind the bone top towards the centre parting. Again, this is all, I'm doing this really quick. You can spend a lot longer. The Ariana Grande, I spend a long time on her hair. So check out the hair section on that if you want a very in-depth lesson on the hair. The Ariana Grande, I mean, every single one that's got hair, there's a hair lesson, but you can do it to much higher degrees than this. Again, oops. Doo-ba-doo-doo. Now, that's nearly kind of straight, so I'm putting the paper on there. That's a simple technique. Use the edge of the paper, and then that way you don't lose the detail that you've just put in. Where have I put my pencil? So, now we've got the dark coming down the right hand side of Jack's head and the bandana. Again, you can see the direction of the hair, that lighter patch, and we just now want the swirls go in the right direction. We've got the dark. I'm just going to sharpen both my pencils. Now, I want to darken down this plaited braid and next to the feather. Again, I'm doing this really quickly and it's just such good fun. I'm really loving this. I hope you are. And it is an absolute joy and pleasure to be able to do this. So I'm filling in this dark. I mean, it's just great, you know, you've seen now in a short space of time from the first pencil line to now, and it's just stunning. To be able to do this is an absolute pleasure. Doing the arts is a great thing, and it's so refreshing and relaxing So again, I'm filling in this dark down that side of the braid. And you can see that these flower shapes, I'm following the curve, increasing the dark using the tip of the pencil. We've got a dark patch right next to Jack's head. We'll wait and see, but I might just do this completely with the 2B pencil. So I'm now softening that next to his cheek in the shadow that I'd already put there. Got a couple of little hairs coming out of there. Then we have the shadow created by shirt, and you've got the edge of the belt. Now we have this braid, these plaits, darker at the top, coming down. And you can see we've got these shapes. So I'm going to work to down at the bottom. We need underneath that medallion, dark, down to this ribbon. Now, underneath there, and we'll fill that in a bit. We want the top of the leather of that belt, nice dark, leaving a highlight on the edge. You can see it's just building up, but now, because all of this is dark around the outside, Jack's face is now not standing out as much. But again, when we add the more detail in, when I've got all of this outside in, might need a bit of 4B pencil. Again, we'll wait and see. But when we've got that done, we've got to darken up his eyes, his mouth, his moustache, his nose, and the chin beard. Now, here we have the braids. I'm starting in this kind of link here, the cross plait, down by the cross on his cheek. We got that shadow. And that goes up, and we got shadow there. We come down, and it just gets a little bit lighter as we come down. So below that shadow, we've got another passing shadow. And two dark ones down by his moustache. Again, you still, even though it's hair, so even though it's plaited, you still need to sketch in the direction of the plaits. So we've got the dark in the centres, coming down. I'm just twisting the pencil using the tip. Now we've got lighter, so I'm now following the shape of the plaits as it comes around, just sketching some little bits of hair. You can see where I'm leaving the highlights and they are showing up a little bit more. Now, coming back in with the putty rubber, I'm just picking up a couple of highlights on those top parts. Now, hair up here, we got these cross parts coming down. actually there's a big strong highlight in there that I missed. I'm not going to be able to... Oh, that's not so bad. So in amongst that plait, got a strike. That's his earring. Right inside that dark. Oh, that's good. I hope you're enjoying this. This is fantastic. It's just such good fun. You've got to learn to use a pencil. You know, you can't do, if you can't draw with a basic pencil, then that's it. You know, graphics tablet, computer games, anything. You've got to learn to do this. And this is what I love doing. I love encouraging you guys to draw. So anyway, that's the hair wrapped. This bit going up, coming down underneath. So now we've got the edge of the feather, just twisting the pencil, getting some sharp sides. You've got some dark coming out. And the same on that side. I'm just going to swap pencil over so I've got a nice sharp point for the centre. That comes down. Now, again, just like hair, a feather goes out in the same direction. So I'm literally using the point very carefully, very lightly. Following the direction of the spines as the feather lights coming away from the spine in the centre. There's the dark. So that's the feather coming out, and then we come down to this disc. Now we're coming down to this disc. Filling in the dark. Got that triangle highlight, just putting the dark around the outside of that. Like I say, you got that kind of dark mouth shape there. It's like two eyes and a mouth. Then dark around the edge. That blue. Area, then we want the grey of the metal, but just leaving the highlights. Best we can on the edge. Now, here we've got this dark band wrapped around the hair. And the blonde hair coming down. Again, it's all quite straggly. You got the kick off there. The blonde hair coming down into the dark. It's kind of plaited but matted at the same time. So I'm just indicating where the hair cross kind of plaits are because of the blonde, it makes it the tones make it, the lines just make it work. You can just be quite scratchy and quick. And when we put the dark around the outside of this next, or in a minute, it will show up quite well. So again, I've done all of that. Just going to come in with the potty rubber. Just dab some little highlights. Now, coming in with the blending stump. Just increase the tone on the feather. In the centre and down the bottom, and then carefully pull the highlight up. And again, just dabbing now with the blending stump, and that gives me the tonal values that I need for the blonde hair. So again, in the bits that are coming down here, lightly go onto that little rectangle. Now, here we have the dark of the belt, going all the way up. We need lighter tones, darker down the bottom, but you got this kind of lighter bit in the light edge. I'm just leaving that nice lighter edge to show. Now, the shape of the buckle. We don't want to kind of go over onto the buckle, so I'm just carefully filling in down to the buckle. Again, I'm doing the lines for the belt in the way that the belt's running around his body and shoulder. And so we've got all of the dark. Again, I've now got quite a flat tip of the pencil, and that allows me to fill in quite a large area very quickly. So I'm filling in these holes, the belt showing through. Some kind of little, that's the actual belt part pushing through. So you've got the centre spine, and then you got the actual prong that sticks through the leather and holds onto the clasp. So now fill in the dark in. And that's really good, and you can see where the light comes. To the centre of the belt. You keep looking at the reference and you keep checking, and then dark edge where the edge of the buckle comes to the belt, and you got that nice light, that highlight there. That's good. And the dark. Of the belt buckle. The strap going through the belt buckle as it curves over. So we've got this highlighted area but a dark kind of triangle here. We've got the nice pattern that we can see. So again, I'm now twisting the pencil a little. I'm actually going to swap it out. There's a bit of a sharper point on this one. There's some little dots. And like I say, kind of just some general patterning. And filling in with a lighter tone, the grey up. Just filling in carefully. Now again, you could really go to town on this bit. I'm just leaving some highlights just to indicate where the patterning is. Just pull up a couple of little bits and get the blending stump. And that's looking pretty good. So again, got the dark in the recesses of the belt buckle. You can just see how even, just filling in the shapes all starts to really pull everything together. Again, quickly filling this lower area in, right the way down to the blonde piece of hair at the bottom. And again, I'm using the blending stump and just pushing some tone around, even on this hair going up now. You can just work around the picture sometimes. And it just gives you, you know, as you're working around, you can like, oh yeah, I can just add a little bit there or take a little bit away. So now on the belt buckle, I'm just pushing a lot of tone around. I've got a hole to fit in there and there. Now I'm just going to sharpen my pencils. So I've got a nice flat side. Got another hole, kind of like a little heart shape there. Replicate this on this side. Like I say, there's those two have missed them there. And then we got incredible patterning all around this belt buckle. Highlight at the bottom, and it's just the engraved patterning. So again, I'm just indicating quite quickly, like we did around here, what that is. We've got the shape and the pattern. But if you just do it in a kind of impressionistic way, it gives you the idea of a patterned buckle. So, more holes in the buckle. Now we've got darker sections with highlights on the actual buckle. Again, I'm just filling in very quickly, looking, seeing where I need to leave lighter parts, like around here. I'm just filling in tone. Just making the buckle fit in. I'm just squinting my eyes to see where the darks need to be. Now coming back in with blending stump. And that gives you the kind of just brushed metal. And you can see we're just filling in now, and it's all looking really good. So again, just coming back in with putty rubber, just pulling a couple of highlights up. And that helps give it the metallic look and that three-dimensionality. Again, just darkening the shadows on the edge where I need to. And down this bottom part. So now I'm just going to rub out the centre of that. Now we've got hair, we've got the belt. You can see we've got the belt continues its journey behind. That hair into this dark. Little twists in that little bit of hair that are coming out there. Now, again, just really quickly filling in these areas, just so that we've got good coverage. To build upon. So we've got a very strong highlight on this, so we leave the bright highlight on, just fill a little bit in at the bottom. Then we've got the little red bits down at the base of those, of that little pendant. Filling in that shape. The same now in between that bit of hair, but this one needs to be darkened down. So you can really see that Jack's face is now becoming less and less prominent because these aren't as dark as these areas. So we can go back in and build that up pretty soon when we need to. So again, now on the hair, I'm literally drawing it, following the wave as it comes down. The one's lighter going off to the side. Again, there's some darker ones that we need to bring in. And I'll have to get my Tombow eraser out to do some lighter highlights. But I can just pull some up with this. That works quite quickly and quite well. Hair cascading down over his shoulder. Just swapping the pencil out. So now I'm trying to fill in this blue bit really quickly. And we got this lighter part. You can see I'm just being very, very quick. Just to fill in. The area as quick as possible. We've got this kind of pink part coming down. Just hair cascading here. And then it comes into this dark area of his waistcoat. So now I'm really pressing on just to get the dark in. Again, this isn't overly detailed, but it's vitally important. And you just, again, you just fill in shapes, and you can see I've just done like a triangle. And just look where you are on the drawing to your reference. And then you can build the darks up that then give your image. There's a highlight there that comes off. And pull that out. More solidity. There's a crease in there. That can be darkened down a bit. We've got a nice cascading bit of hair there. And then the dark frames the hair and makes it stand out. That's really good. Again, framing the dark. You can see that's really giving us now a full-bodied picture. We've really got to build up those details. So the creases in the shirt around here, I'm just going to erase that going down the bottom. That's mega. It says we definitely need a bit more dark on this side. And down by this dreadlock. Again, I'm just using the blending stump, just pushing the tone around. and we can build on and add more detail as we need to. That's absolutely fantastic. I hope you're having fun, because I'm really enjoying this, and like I say, we're going to build up more detail very, very soon. Oh, just, oops, wrong end. Pushing that tone around on his shoulder, and then we've got that darker bit going off the back.